the entire opus of Judaism takes on a new perspective when you realize that the sign given to Cain, the oath given to Cain, was a circumcision. It was his circumcision. The word oath means sign, but it also means letter. And it's the deepest thing. It's the 22 letters of the alphabet. But what are these letters except for phallic representations? Because the actual letters themselves, in a physical sense, in a writing sense, is a phallic representation. And now, what level of bris Cain was given is another story. Was he given only the milah, which is very possible? Was he given the pariah? We don't know. And was he given the metzitzah hadam? So this remains to be open. In a certain sense, these three functions of the bris are represented from the letter het into the letter hey. And this reduction of the letter het into the letter hey is by 3, because the het is 8 and the hey is 5. So that's where the 3 aspects of the bris come in. And the 3 in general of the 3 of the rainbow and 3 days and 3 meals on Shabbos. And remember, there are 3 oaths. It's Shabbos is an oath, and bris is an oath, and oatmeal is an oath. Anyway, so once you recognize that, and you go from there, you see, of course, tefillin is that other oath. And so it's a phallic thing, tefillin, because also you put tefillin on the day you're 13 years old, which is the day of sexual maturity. And this is the whole idea, actually, of het plus hey equals 13. Ahava, echad. See, it's a combination of these 2 factors. And as you will be witnessing, you'll be hearing, I'll be doing some miraculous things on the whole Pesakim Talmudic tractate based on this. And this idea of the oath as a letter, because this is another aspect I was going to do in a different video, but I'll do it now. Especially now during the coronavirus epidemic, people have been spending a lot of time at home eating, getting fat, because there's no sociability. Of course, people don't recognize that sociability is a sexual thing, the chatting up of somebody and the pleasure of looking at them and talking to them, and the physical touching. Well, one of the things is that there are 5 senses. There's the mouth for eating and drinking, eating and speaking, the nose for breathing and smelling. Those are basically the functions of the easiest functions for food. But then there's the ears for hearing, absorbing inside. The ears absorb. There is a wind that comes out, but that's... And then there's an internal eyes, because you see with your brain, you don't see with... So it's not that you're seeing, the light comes into you and you see. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a fifth sense. That fifth sense is touch. You see? The fifth sense is touch, where you have to touch, you know? Touch is basically the sexual sense. See? So that's represented by the hand. But then there's a sixth aspect. And in the higher world of the hand, that sixth aspect is represented by the tongue. And that's taste of the tongue. So to get the sixth aspect here, it's the tongue. You see? And now, on the bottom, the sixth aspect is the penis, because that has a supersonic sensation, like the tongue. And this sixth sense is developed as an Ouroboros, which is an autofellatio. And when you do this autofellatio with a woman, it becomes cunnilingus. And this is the sixth level. This is the sixth sense, which is the taste buds of the tongue. And the sensation of the penis. And this is the deep aspects. They're not brought out in Judaism. Well, it's brought out in my Judaism. And that's why I get 20 views on my videos. And the better the video, the more people reject them. My followers delete after my best videos. And that's a great compliment to me, because it means I've hit upon a sensibility, a truth, an MS. You see, that people can't take. They can't take it that the sign of Cain is the penis, the bris. They can't take it that the oat is the bris. And that when they're writing with a pen, see, when they're writing with a pen, this pen is the olive, the line of the olive. And the ink is the semen. And the writing, they're called oats, they're letters. And that whole primal thing of writing is before speech. And these are the real deep aspects of what's going on. And the pen is held in the hand. We talked about touch. And the olive represents the pen and the 2 drops of ink, because there's always 2. And it's brought down in Islam, where the alif is the pen itself, because it's written like that. And it's an oat. And everything is an oat, you see. It's brought down more in Arabic and in Islam that everything's an ayat. Ayat is the word in Arabic. Everything you see is an ayat. It's a letter. And a letter is a phallic symbol. Therefore, everything is a phallic symbol, and so is your communications with people. You know, I'm expressing a new Judaism here. You see? Because this is what's really underneath. What's really underneath is the body. And this body only goes for pleasure. Ha'ana. Hana'a. Hey, nun, aleph, hey. Hanana. Means pleasure. Do the gematria. Hey, 5. Nun, 50. 55. Aleph, 1. 56. Hey, 5. 61. 61 is ani, it's ayin. It's also aleph, samach, ein sof. The whole thing is pleasure. You were born here for pleasure, but we find some way to when we have pleasure, find some way to find fault with ourselves. Don't you think this is giving me pleasure? Would I be doing it if it gave me pain? Don't you think when I eat, I'm doing it for pleasure? Or when those big fat people you see eat, they're not eating to keep themselves alive, because to keep themselves alive, you need very little. They're thin. The extra stuff is only there to give taste, pleasure. That's fine. There are different grades of pleasure. Remember when Moses was on Mount Sinai, he didn't eat and drink for 40 days. He didn't eat and drink for 40 days 3 times in a row. That's 120 days with what came down one day in between. That he did a meal and then went back up. That gives the ultimate pleasure. So the ultimate pleasure may be no food. Or a spiritual food, like a manna, which gave the taste of the individual wanted because he wanted pleasure. So these are very deep aspects. And I started here with the idea of the oat, because everything's an oat. Even the word hanana comes from the root of the word oat. Because every letter, every sign, every symbol is a penis. And the penis is your pleasure principle. And if you can't get that, and this is what it's all about, even in Pesakim, when you read it, the whole thing is about pleasure. And how humetz relates to matzah. And the forbidden humetz for a week. And the search for humetz. But it's only for a week. Otherwise, you're allowed humetz all year. It's the staple of your diet, humetz. And so the week of Pesach actually only makes you aware that humetz is part of the Yetzer Hara. What's called the Yetzer Hara. So recognize in your daily life what you're doing. If you don't recognize what you're doing, everything you're doing is sexual. And it's not much different than Freudian. Little things. Not much different than the Freudian thing applied to Judaism. Or should I say, how Freud took Judaism, real essence of Judaism, and applied it to the individual. In a psychoanalysis which transcended rabbinical interpretations. So, this has been beauty for me, great pleasure, and that's why I do it. And it's a 6 senses of mouth, nose, ears, eyes, hands, and tongue. And so tongue, which is a very big deal in speech, is also a great pleasure. Speech. And the taste buds in the tongue. See? So there are 6 levels. And the essence level is that taste, a taste of something, which is like they have a shear, a hetzi shear, and then a taste. And to really get it, all you need is the taste.